Hi folks, Puffin here, back with another Antifa news Briefa. It is August 9th, 2021, and this isn't about anything in particular in the news. It is about the phrase, Trumpers are like Nazis, or even Trumpers are worse than Nazis. A phrase that I wanted to discuss here, but backing up a little bit. Disclaimers before I start into the discussion. First, no one's worse than anyone. Ranking people, all that stuff is fascist to begin with. We don't want it. It's not true. The truth is hurt people hurt people. The truth is, I think it's in Spies in Disguise, the Will Smith pigeon maybe. The truth is that people aren't better than other people or worse than other people. The ideology, fascism, Nazism, Trumpism, these ideologies are bad. And these bad ideologies, we know they're bad because they make victims of so many people. They hurt and kill so many people. And those are the victims of the ideology. The people who perpetrate the ideologies are guilty of perpetrating the ideologies, but they're also victims of the ideology in a different way. This goes for just racism in general. There's the victims of racism who are hurt by crimes committed by racists and hurt by a system constructed by racists that hurts people. Those are victims of racism. And the people who benefit from the racism are also victims of racism in an ideological sense because they're the ones who are poisoned by the racism. So all of this is to help people out of that, to help people who are responsible out of being a Trumper, being a Nazi. And the reason these things are compared is because there's a comparison. Okay, the other disclaimer I want to make, the first disclaimer is people aren't really worse than each other. There are worse ideologies, which is why we need to oppose those ideologies so no one falls victim of them. But the other disclaimer is saying someone's worse than Nazis or like Nazis is not to diminish anything Nazis have done. It's not Nazi sympathizing. And if you're upset about anyone being a Nazi sympathizer, be upset about the people who are now trying to be reviving being Nazis, or the Trumpers. Like, we have to be real about this and we have to call it what it is. It's evil. If we had a better word for evil than Nazi, we would use it, but they were the most evil people there have been, and now you have equally evil or more evil people in the world in the form of Trumpers. And the reason why they could possibly be more evil is because you had 70, 80 years of people talking about how bad the Nazis were before these people did the same thing. But are they evil people? Again, they're caught up in an evil ideology. And one big lesson from this is when the wars that defeated the Nazis, when Americans and communists and Europeans defeated the Nazis and people all over the world worked together to defeat the Nazis, while Germany was defeated, Nazism cropped back up through Putin and Trump and Facebook and took over all these countries and killed all these people without a war. So a bigger lesson of this is that war doesn't work. War worked to slow down Nazis or stop them in one form at great cost. But if they'd been stopped in a different way than war, maybe that couldn't have happened back in those days. But these days it can happen, is my point. Is you can stop the modern Nazis in a different way than war. Now, one reason to say Trumpers are worse than Nazis is because apparently they don't get it when you call them Nazis. They don't understand it as a bad thing. Half of them take it as a compliment, literally. When Trump was on the CPAC stage shaped like a Nazi symbol, when he was placing Facebook ads using Nazi symbols that people had to complain to Zuckerberg for weeks to get Zuckerberg to even somewhat hide it because Zuckerberg's a Nazi. When Trump recently is asking his supporters to carry a card, like Nazis have had people have a card-carrying Nazi, card-carrying fascist, a card as a Trump supporter. He wants his supporters to carry a card, which is what every time they get upset about people having to present a COVID card, they like to make Nazi comparisons. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert, one of the Nazis, did it. And they always love to say, oh, Nazis had socialists in their name. That makes you socialist, the Nazis. Not so. Like, everything they did was wrong. But as far as being a Nazi sympathizer, they're the Nazi sympathizers. They're the ones trying to revive it. And people criticizing them are not letting the Nazis off light in any way. The Nazis did nothing good. If Hitler was a good artist, he should have stuck with that. Even if he was a bad artist, he should have stuck with that. here's a lesson for you. If you take nothing else away from this, do art, bad or good. If you make some art, bad or good, before you ever go doing a genocide or any other Nazi thing, life will be way better for that. So keep that principle in mind. Go do some art. I mean, not before, like then go do Nazi things. Like if you have any inclination to do anything Nazi or anything, dangerous or could be wrong or that maybe half the world or most of the world thinks is wrong, don't do that. Do some art instead. Bad art is better than that. Bad art is better than genocide or murder. Bad art is better, but it could be good art too. But it doesn't matter. Any art is better than all that. So make some art. Whatever type of art you like to make. Make a video like this. Here's the thing. They had 70, 80 years to know that it's bad, and they still got suckered into the same thing. Nazis in Germany, they had, this heavy propaganda machine and not a lot of, surely people were speaking out against it even in Germany. Like the Bauhaus movement was against the fascist movement. Even in those times, in the early 1900s, there was alternative forces at work, but they didn't manage to sway the people away from great evil. Well, we have all these forces at work in our society. We have all these voices on social media and stuff to counter the fascism, and it's still going strong in Trump. And I'm not going to go through all the things. I've mentioned a few examples of things he did that are, textbook Nazi or making direct reference to Nazism. I'm not going to go through all the things Trump has done. Every time Trumpers ask people, say one thing Trump did that was bad. We write a book about it on Facebook, and then that gets deleted line by line, and we get banned for having critical things to say. So there's plenty of bad things he did, and more of them come out in the future, as you know, like now everyone's finding out the extent of the coup, all this type of stuff. Well, Hitler got shut down the first time around, and I think maybe put in jail or something, and then came back and was worse the second time around. Can't let there be a second time around. We can't let history repeat in that way. Now, I could say Trump's worse than Hitler, but the point is, again, it's not about comparing people. And Trump's probably not watching this. If you are Trump, change your ways. Become a human again. Get Jesus in your heart. Like whatever it takes, or Buddha, or whatever it takes to, or Lakshmi, get whatever it takes to overcome the evil and bring love into your heart. The goddess Lady Gaga. Whatever it takes. Because that's what we all need. We need to replace this evil with something good. And we got a chance to do it. But we don't want another war. We don't want to do it with war. We want to talk people out of it. We want to change people's minds. We want transformation. We want, the come to Jesus moment, the second coming, or the born again moment where people realize, hey, this was wrong. Now let's return to humanity and do what's right. We all know Nazis were wrong. It's, why it's such a terrible word. But you call these Trumpers Nazis, and it doesn't faze them. Again, half of them take it as a compliment. If you call them clowns, it's an insult to clowns. If you call them dogs, it's an insult to dogs. Anything else people like to say to be insulting. So it's like Trumpers has trumped all other bad words as a bad thing to be. You might not everybody realize it. Lots of people know exactly what I'm talking about when you hear I say that. Hear me say that. If you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, you will in the future, because people are going to look down on Trumpers and the Trumpy ideology for killing so many people with a Trumpy genocide. Like probably 6 million people worldwide so far, at least 650,000, I think, in America. And we all know that you constantly lied, Trump and the Trumpers, through using Facebook at Putin's direction. So Bolsonaro and Modi and some others too, Netanyahu, some people who were, even though Netanyahu vaccinated his people, he tried to make sure to spread the virus amongst the Palestinians. Like, it's a genocide. All of these things are part of a genocide. And even all the little trolls leaving comments, and the trolls in Congress like Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz, all these trolls who were spreading the virus, and the trolls in governor's office like DeSantis, and the troll judges out there, some places too, but DeSantis making laws against mask mandates. Like, they're spreading a genocide. The future will look back on it as the Trump virus genocide. And like, don't be part of that. If you have been part of it, repent for it and rejoin humanity. Because here's the thing, there's no crossover of Trumpers and Americans. Most Trumpers were foreign trolls to begin with. but the ones that were Americans got their American cards revoked by following Trump. It's, get it back, come back to us. It's like it's time to be human again. So put Trumpism, Nazism aside, recognize that that's what it is and call it what it is. If you're in the media or if you're on the street, if you're talking to people, to shut it down and shame the ideology out of people so people can be saved from it. The people, so that they won't have victims and they won't be victims of evil ideology. Thanks for watching another Antifa News Briefa. This is Puffin.